Here now, NewsNation political contributor Denise Gitsham. Good morning to you. So kicking the can, Congress is good at that. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, how many Groundhog Days do we have a year? Yeah, I think that, look, nobody's expressing, massive enthusiasm about negotiating over DHS funding in the future. And the reality is that ICE and Border Patrol have already been funded through the One Big Beautiful Bill. So whatever happens out of this negotiation is going to be purely political. It's just for posturing because nothing's going to change on how ICE is moving forward with enforcement of our nation's immigration laws. The only people who are going to be affected are those who rely on the Coast Guard, like all of those people who are waiting for their paychecks, the TSA, so our flights are going to get snarled, and FEMA. All these people who've endured ice storms, they're literally going to be left out in the cold. So I'm not really sure what Democrats are hoping to get out of this. Republicans have already added all the body cam, funding that they asked for, and they're on board with that. I think that the only hope for any sort of path forward is something that our deal maker in chief, President Trump, can strike with thoughtful, reasonable Democrats. And there are plenty out there. Yes, I'm a Republican, but I have seen evidence that there are plenty of reasonable people on both sides of the aisle that can say, this makes sense, that doesn't, let's move forward.
Right. And it seemed like a reasonable response. House Speaker Mike Johnson said that some Democrats' conditions and requests should happen. Others require more negotiation. What, in your mind, are some of the biggest sticking points and some willingness to cooperate?
So judicial warrants, adding that extra layer of judicial warrant requirements are probably a no-go, which is interesting because as a conservative, I actually don't want a big administrative state that approves its own warrants. To me, that seems very not conservative. But it's something that this administration and House Republicans have said they're not going to move on. So maybe what they'll do is they'll come up with some sort of compromise that allows for an additional layer of administrative review, maybe a different agency's review. I have no idea how that's going to play out, but that could be a possibility. I think, another sticking point is that sanctuary cities issue is not going to go away. It wasn't just Lindsey Graham's issue. It's something that I think anyone who believes in law and order and believes in the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, has a problem with. I think that sanctuary cities have now been brought to light in that they actually harm local communities. And I don't think Republicans are ever going to let go of the fact that when there's a federal law and the Constitution requires the Supremacy Clause to always take effect, and you have individual cities and states saying, we're not going to abide by the federal law, there are real consequences for that in terms of human lives. And I just don't think that issue is going to go away. So those are probably two of the major issues that I think we're going to have real skillful negotiators navigate.
Yeah, some opportunities for compromise, but certainly some issues that both sides will dig in on. Denise, thanks as always.